So the way our brains work is we have thought patterns in our brains, and they're called and habits of our behavior and our emotions, and they're called neural pathways. And if you imagine a pathway, it's like a highway in your brain. And the majority of the thoughts that you think today, you thought yesterday and the day before and the day before, I think it's like 97%, it's a lot, are just like on repeat. And you have these highways of thought that literally the electricity in your brain is sparking your neurons and your dendrites and all that kind of stuff to create your life. And so when you want to change those, you create a new neural pathway, but it's not a highway. It's like a small walking path and there's brush that you've got to like clear to start a new way of thinking. So as you're doing this, as you're clearing a new way of thinking, a new pattern of thinking, as you're changing any habit, as you're changing how you talk to yourself, as you're healing in any way, there's a moment where you leave the highway and you go on to this beaten path, but it's not firmly established. And growth mindset calls it a dip. The psychological pattern of change, that model calls it the pit of despair. I call it no man's land. It's when the other path is not well trodden yet, right? It's not a highway yet. It's not a habit yet. And you're in this in between. That the reason I want to talk about it is because you can be excited when you're there. So it's hard, it's uncomfortable. We fail there because we actually don't know how to be who we want to be, right? We haven't practiced it very much. And it takes practice, and we screw up at it. And sometimes we go back to the highway and then we come back, but the path gets more and more and more traveled and more visible, more and more easy, more and more familiar as we go. So today, if you're in that in between, if you're in that no man's land, you need to celebrate, because you can't get there if you haven't let go of the old. So you've let go of the old, and that's amazing and that's good. And you need to celebrate and encourage yourself, even though it doesn't feel good yet. It's going to. The next thing is keep going. Keep making the new familiar. Keep doing the uncomfortable of showing up the way you want to, the way you know you are supposed to. Keep going. And eventually it will become that new neural pathway, that new highway of a habit of thoughts, emotion, and behavior. You're probably doing way better than you think, and keep going.